Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit, what a fucking day. It's a good fucking day. Great fucking day to be alive, man. I woke up this morning, bam, fucking snow everywhere, man. That's why I like not checking the fucking weather. I don't like checking the weather because you wake up the next day. I didn't know this was gonna happen. It was boom. I woke up, fucking snow everywhere. I was fucking happy as fuck. Sometimes people get upset when snow falls. I'm not really sure why. Um, I can guess that it has a lot to do with inconveniences and shit like that. Because when I used to live in the city, when the snow fell, I mean, I still liked the snow, but then, you know, as you became an adult and shit like that, and you had to like go to work and blah 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 and do all this fucking bullshit, then snow became an issue. It became a thing that got in your way, right? Unless, you just get to not go to work because it snows. But I like snow, and I'm starting to develop more of an appreciation for wintertime in general. I moved further up north. I live in the mountains now. When it snows, it fucking snows out here. You know what I mean? We don't get a little, we get a lot. So I've had to get accustomed to it, and I like it. I like it because it forces you to get the fuck up and get out and move. You know what I'm saying? And kind of like cultivate your own inner fire, so to speak. I used to be a bitch about cold. I'm from the Caribbean. I always gave myself the excuse like, oh, I'm from the Caribbean, I don't do cold, blah, blah, blah. I've learned to embrace the cold. I have about 1.2% Scandinavian blood in me somewhere, like most people around the earth do, because the Vikings were motherfuckers. Literally. So I've had to learn how to embrace the cold, and what I've been doing now is like when I go out, I don't wear gloves. When I'm out in the cold, it could be cold as shit. I don't wear gloves, and at first, it was very painful for my hands, but my hands have gotten accustomed to it. I can just touch snow. I can do all types of shit. Which I could just be out here all day without gloves, and I'm chilling. I'm cool. I think that's the first step to getting over that shit. And and another thing that I appreciate now is clothing, right? Like, you really need to pay attention to your clothing, the materials that your clothing is made out of, how you layer your clothing, how you don your clothing, in general. And I've been looking into a lot of medieval methods of garment making that are specifically designed to keep people warm. Because if you were a medieval person, you were outside in the cold all day, all day. This is how our ancestors lived. So they had to develop technology, and this is what this video is kind of going to be about. They had to develop technology to help them in their endeavors, right? Their specific endeavors of being outside, whether it was hunting, trapping, construction work, whatever the fuck it was. You had to develop a technology using the elements around you in order to help facilitate your endeavor, right? Whatever that is. Let me get this cigar going before I get into the main topic of today's discussion. Now we're in business. All right. So, I made a video. Last video I made was about technological overdrive. Technological overdrive. So, there's a lot of things on this planet that are designed to help make our lives a little bit easier, okay? And people refer to this as technology, okay? Now, in the modern day, when you say the word technology, the thing that typically pops up into people's minds is digital technology. Computers, phones, the internet, satellites, all that shit. That's what today's average kid walking down the street will tell you that technology is. And that's how people use the term technology. However, technology has a much broader definition than just that. Technology in and of itself, like for example, the steamboat is a technology. The loom is a technology. Instruments are technologies, right? The plow is a technology. A rope is technology. The wheel is technology. Fire is technology, or at least the ability to create fire is technology, right? So technology is something that is invented or discovered by man, and it is something, it is essentially something that can be used as a tool to further a certain goal. It can do multiple things for that goal. It can create something that was never in existence before. And for like example, the loom, okay? If you don't know what a loom is essentially a machine that allows you to weave threads together, okay, to create a piece of fabric, aka a textile. So this is where the textile industry started from. And so the thing that you need to realize about looms is that before the invention of a loom, I think the first one ever created was probably in Mesopotamia or something like that. Or that's what the time where it was like massively used. Before the loom, there was no such thing as a piece of fabric. So everybody's clothes were made out of animal skins, furs, and hides, right? There was no such thing as a piece of fabric that you can use to make a blanket. There was no such thing as a piece of fabric that you can use to make a pair of pants. It did not exist. Somebody had to come up with the idea that, oh, I could make this machine, this manual machine that can take these individual threads. Like cordage has been a thing for a very long time, right? That's a technology that's been around for a very long time. I could take these individual pieces of cord, weave them together to make a sheet of cordage material that I can now wrap things in, that I can use to separate one thing from something else, right? So the loom as a piece of technology allowed for a brand new thing to appear in the physical world that did not exist before. Fucking swallow some of my smoke. So there's technologies that do that. There's technologies that allow you to do something that you've already been doing. It just allows you to do it faster, with more efficiency, or with higher quality, or with higher fidelity, okay? And by fidelity, I mean repetition to have the same end result at the end of the day, right? So a lot of those technologies that allow you to do things faster, more quote unquote efficiently, are a lot of the technologies that we see in this day and age, in the contemporary age, okay? The reason being that we have developed a society that has an economic structure that runs on capitalism. Now, I'm not here to shit on or denigrate on capitalism. There's plenty of people that do that. Just like anything else that exists in this universe, it has its pros, it has its cons, it has its light side, it has its dark side. Okay, so we're not gonna belabor that point. But what I do want to mention is the fact that one of capitalism's main goals is efficiency, because efficiency allows increased production, allows better quality, allows cheaper costs most of the time. Just overall more efficiency, right? Things get done faster. Things get delivered faster, right? We don't have to wait around as long as we used to, right? And so transportation technologies, right, were one of the first things to pop off. Transportation technologies, the steam engine allowed the creation of a train, which then allowed the creation for railroad tracks and delivery systems that can travel far and faster than before to deliver goods to all parts of the globe. That was technology. That was a lot of physical technology, right? And when I say physical technology, I mean technology that allows you to mold the physical world to your will, right? And we started that off with blacksmithing and mining, right? That's like the primordial physical technology that we have. Like, we dug into the earth, we found these stones that had these mixtures of different kinds of materials in them, and then we noticed that when we heat them up to very high temperatures, we can separate the different materials in those stones. And some of those materials have properties that can make them into very hard pieces of material, such as iron, bronze, copper, whatever it may be, tin, aluminum, blah blah blah, right? And then we started taking those things, those materials, those solid materials, and we realized that some of them had conductive properties. Some of them were more malleable than others. Some of them were more durable than others. And so we started using them to construct machines and to construct buildings and to construct tools, right? These are all physical technologies. It wasn't necessarily like the primordial ones weren't necessarily to do things faster. It was just to do something that you couldn't do before, like the axe. I could chop a fucking tree down now, like holy shit. And then came the chainsaw. Now that was a technology of efficiency, because it's not like I can't chop a tree down. This just allows me to do it faster and with less effort. You see what I'm saying? So this is what technology means, okay? Now, the modern person has conflated technology with digital technology or electronic technology. And so that's all people think about, because now we're in the information age. And so it makes sense that that's the predominating technology, is information technology, which allows us to send information to all parts of the world extremely fast in the blink of a fucking eye, right? This is the information age, and so now we have a lot of information technology. What comes with that? What comes with that? More information, faster, cheaper. Now, do you always want more information, faster, and cheaper? No, you don't. And this is now the dark side of capitalism, because capitalism pushes towards progress with no cap, with no concept of too much production. A living cell that reproduces uncontrollably is cancer, right? So nature shows us that there's caps on everything. There's limitations to everything, okay? The ideology of producing until you die and focusing on nothing but production is one of the reasons why I think cancer is such a rampant pathology in this day and age. It's expressing itself through the biosphere, right? It's expressing itself through the biosphere because it is a sickness of the noosphere. It is a sickness of the spiritual realm and the mental realm. And so it's expressing itself physiologically through our bodies. The reason I want you to understand how the word technology is a much wider concept than what you may have been focusing on, right? It's not just computers and smartphones, okay? Is because I want you to realize that there are technologies that exist that you cannot put your finger on. There are technologies that exist that you cannot hold in your hand. An example of that is the internet. You can't really point to where the internet is, right? It's everywhere. You can't hold the internet in your hand. So, as we evolve as a species in our consciousness, as we've evolved from the physiosphere through the biosphere into the noosphere, right? The realm of the mind, which is where we're operating now. There is another sphere that I feel like we're moving into. The spiritual sphere, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The mystical sphere, okay? That's intimately related with the noosphere and encompasses the noosphere, okay? And goes beyond it. If you've read some of Ken Wilber's works, these terms that I'm talking about, physiosphere, biosphere, noosphere, will make sense to you. If they don't make sense to you, look it up. But I'll give you a preliminary definition. Physiosphere is basically the physical world as we know it in terms of materials and comets that fly through space and planets and rain and water and fire and blah, blah, blah. The biosphere is the world created out of the physiosphere that contains biological creatures. This is biological life, sentient beings, right, that experience emotion and instinct. And then there's the noosphere, which is the mental plane. That right now it seems like on this planet, it seems like human beings are the ones that are dominating the noosphere. And so it's the mental world that we create of language, images, symbols, concepts, ideas, right? So what I'm saying is that as you encompass if you embrace the physiosphere, the biosphere, and the noosphere, and you get really good at operating in the noosphere, that is the gateway to really learning about how the mystical sphere works, okay? Because the mystical sphere is the next stage of evolution for humankind. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you need to realize that all the spheres that we go through in our evolution have technologies that correspond with that sphere. So, the smelting technologies, the building iron machine technologies are all things that went with the physiosphere. Those are all technologies that were born out of the physiosphere with the intent to manipulate the physiosphere to our own ends. Likewise, a lot of technologies that have been developed by the medical system, right? Herbal medicines, for example, or medicines of any kind, even pharmaceutical pills, right, are biospheric technologies that allow us to manipulate the biological organism and the physiology of a living entity, right? That's one thing. Where's my hat, man? I'm starting to get cold. Sit on it. So, the noosphere has its own technologies, and the information technology is a good example of that, right? It's a physical thing that we can touch, but it does operate in the realm of information, which is the realm of the noosphere, which is a mental realm, right? You need to have an operating mind in order to process information. So, what I'm saying is this. We need to start opening our minds to the possibilities that there are in technology, and expand our idea of what technology is, to include things that belong in the noosphere and in the mystical sphere. Okay? In the spiritual realm, there are spiritual technologies that you can employ. Meditation is one of them that everybody knows. Okay? That's the oldest one that's been used for a very long time, right? Fasting, okay, is a method, okay, of receiving information from the mystical sphere. Let me put it this way. Let me take. Hold on. I got something for you. There's a certain way to go about acquiring knowledge, okay? This is the study of epistemology, which is knowing the knowing of things, or the study of knowing, okay? The study of how is it that we get knowledge. The acquiring of knowledge, okay? In order for it to be a valid acquiring of knowledge, and who am I to say that it's valid or not? I'm gonna show you. This makes sense, all right? You just got to think about it. There are 3 steps that you need to do to acquire knowledge in a valid way. Because if somebody comes and see this is the fucking shit that everybody's missing out on these days, man. Because there's so many people that have non-scientific minds, okay? And I'm not sitting here saying that science is like the end-all and be-all, bro. I'm not that kind of nigga. But science is very important. Science is fucking great. Science made skyscrapers and fucking airplanes, and don't talk shit about science, okay? Science is just one way of viewing the world, okay? Modern dogmatic science is just one way of viewing the world. Science itself expands much further than that, okay? Now, people with non-scientific minds, or with minds that aren't critical thinkers, they don't analyze critically, will take everything that anybody tells them. If the person who's telling them the thing is a likable person to them, they'll believe it. They'll believe it. And that's the end of it. And then they walk around, and then the next person that is charismatic says something that is in opposition to the first person that was charismatic, and now this person is in conflict because they don't know what's the real information, because they were given two different opposing views from 2 equally charismatic people that they like, so they don't know what to pick. So now they're confused because they haven't developed an internal system for validating knowledge, or for validating information that can then become knowledge. Okay? So how is it that you go through the process of gathering knowledge in a valid way? 3 steps. The first one is injunction. Okay? And what does injunction mean? Injunction simply means that you're going to carry out a process. You're gonna do a thing, okay? You're gonna do a thing to the world, to the realm around you, okay? An injunction, an example of an injunction could be this. And it usually starts with a question, right? It's like, what color is the sky? Okay. And in order for me to gain the knowledge of what color the sky is, the injunction that I need to do is walk outside and look at the fucking sky. That's the injunction. So I go outside and I look at the fucking sky and I see it's blue and there's some white on the foreground of that blue, and that white is moving around, and the white looks kind of like misty and stuff like that. So I could say that generally speaking, the sky is blue. It has a blue background, and it has these white mists that float across it. And then if I sit there long enough, right? Holy shit, my battery's gonna die. All right, back to our regularly scheduled television show. All right, so you go out and you want to investigate whether the sky is blue or not. You go out, you see that it's blue, you see that there's misty things that are traveling across it, and then you decide, you know what? I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer. I'm gonna keep looking at this sky. And then what you notice is that once that sun starts going down, oh shit, that part of the sky that touches the earth turns a different color at a certain time. Whereas the rest of the sky is blue, that part of the sky starts turning purpley and red and orange. And then when the sun disappears completely, this golden orb floating in the sky, when it disappears completely, all the blue also disappears and it becomes black. And then you see these white dots that appear in the sky. Holy shit. That one injunction that you did gave you so much information. And this is now the second step, which is interpretation. Interpretation of the information that you got, right? So you go back to the drawing board, you go back inside and you say, I did this injunction to find out what color the sky was. I found out that it was blue and it has these white mists, but at a certain time it changes. What could this mean? Okay? What could this mean? And now comes step number 3. And this is, in my opinion, one of the most important steps. And this is a step that a lot of people skip over, which is confirmation. And how do you confirm the injunction that you did? And how do you confirm the knowledge that you gained from the injunction that you did? You have to find other people that did the same injunction that you did, or at least similar, and compare the information that they got with the information that you got. Because we're all fallible. We can all come up, or we can just gather different bits of information that the other person going to gather. Everybody has different levels of observatory faculties, right? Some people are very good visual observers. Other people are very good audio observers. Other people are very good at sensing things, right? So somebody may have been able to pick up a bit of information from that injunction that you didn't pick up, or vice versa. And so now you have to cross compare the information and come to some sort of consensus, right, between you and this other person that have done this similar injunction. That 3-step process is more or less what science is, okay? Science in this day has become a religion because it's become dogmatized by specific paradigm, or I shouldn't say paradigms, but it has become dogmatized by limited points of view, by consensi that are not seeing the full picture, or are altered in some way, shape, or form to serve some entity's needs. Okay, like Fauci, for example. Okay. Now, you say, damn, that's crazy. I did this injunction to see how the sky, what color the sky is. And what I notice is that at a certain point in time, when that big glowing orb in the sky disappears and goes under the sky turns black and a bunch of white dots appear, some brighter than others. And then you say, I wonder what these white dots are. So you say, I want to conceive of an injunction that I can do to look closer at these stars. And therefore, I'm going to construct a piece of technology that will expand my visual observatory capabilities. Now comes the telescope. So the telescope was built as as a technology that can allow an injunction on the deeper space objects or deeper objects in the sky. Okay? And so now we see another application of technology, and a very important one, which is the ability to expand knowledge. The ability to expand knowledge. Okay? Psychedelics. Have a high potential to act as a technology that can allow us to conceive injunctions into the noospheric realm, even into the biospheric realm, into the physiospheric realm, into the mystical spheric realm. Okay? It can allow us to conceive of injunctions that will then allow us to gain further knowledge into these specific realms of the mind, of the spirit, of the biological organism, and even of the physical world that's around us. Okay? And that's just one example. And I think psychedelic technology, okay, psychedelic technology is something that we are just on the fucking brink. We are just started the edge of really understanding what psychedelic technology is, okay? But it is certainly something that can expand our ability to build injunctions into these other realms, and can also allow us to conceive of other forms of technology that we can then create to further investigate these realms and further get pieces of knowledge that we currently don't have. Okay? So, a lot of these times in these psychedelic realms, white people in particular feel so fucking guilty about culturally raping the whole world that they're so fucking conscious about keeping psychedelic cultures intact, you know what I mean, and recreating the ceremonies in the same ways and not violating their precepts and X, Y, and Z, which whatever, this cool, there's a place for that, right? But I think that some, not all, but some psychedelic practitioners, particularly ones that subscribe to a lot of new world or new age beliefs and shit like that, kind of take that a little bit too far, in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is this. We're not back there anymore. We're not in the past. We have knowledge now that people in the past did not have. Vice versa, people in the past had knowledge that we currently don't have now. Okay? I concede to that. Now, but I think a lot of people romanticize the past too much. Okay? and they want to recreate the past in an attempt to make a better future. And what you need to realize is that the future is unknowable. And so if you try to recreate the past into the future, you're only going to end up stuck. You're just going to be reliving the same thing over and over again. Okay? I think really what we need to do, and this is one of my favorite edicts that I go by. Don't do what the ancients did. Seek what the ancients sought. Okay? We don't have to recreate ancient tribal structures. But we can incorporate the best aspects of ancient tribal customs and apply them to the world we live in now in order to create a future that is more harmonious with our past. You understand what I'm saying? Don't try to recreate the past. Use the past to create a better future. All right? And I think if more people in the psychedelic world were to take that approach, that this psychedelic technology is really going to take off. And there are a lot of people that are doing that. There are a lot of legit scientists, non-dogmatic scientists, legit scientists that are undertaking investigations into psychedelic technology, and they're coming out with a lot of interesting things to talk about. So there's a lot of work being done now on DMT infusions, basically injecting people with DMT, putting them on a DMT drip, drip, right? And having them basically in that realm for extended periods of time, for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours at a time, and stabilizing that realm of their mind so that they can operate there and then discover things. Okay? It's like sending psychonauts to inner space. That's what it is. And I think if people keep on doing that and do it with a very open-minded way, it will come off with a lot of interesting things. So, noetic technologies, okay? That's what I'm going to call it. Noetic technologies that investigate the mind and the spirit and the interface between mind and spirit. That's the future, man. That's the future. You know, I envision a point in time where we're not even going to rely on telephones anymore. Like, telepathy is going to be a very common thing that we're going to learn. We're going to learn how to create technologies that can amplify our telepathic abilities so that we can communicate with our loved ones without cell phones, without internet, without any digital anything. Okay? And this is one of the reasons why I warn about the digital sphere. I'm not one of those people that say that like all technology needs to be destroyed and the internet needs to be destroyed. No, like I said before, everything has its light and its dark side. But I do see the dark side of information technology, and I think that one of the things that people can run into that's an error is essentially believing that the digital world is the noosphere. Believing that the digital world is the world of the mind and becoming one with that digital world. I think if you do that, you may limit your ability to evolve further into the spiritual realm. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing here. I'm open to other contrary points of view. Please let me know if you have one. I would love to discuss it with you. But for the meantime, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the cigar without talking so fucking much. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.